So my name is Lisa and I'm here on behalf of the National Apprenticeship Service to talk to you about apprenticeships. As parents and carers, we know that you're keen to hear about all the options available to your child so that you can support them in their decision making. What we're going to cover today is important because although your child might sort of know what they want to do after school, plans can change, so apprenticeships could be something that they might want to consider over time. And apprenticeships have changed significantly over the past few years, and there are some brilliant opportunities available. So through apprenticeships you can now achieve a degree if you wanted to, so there are many different levels of apprenticeship available. As a country, we're also going through some very uncertain times because of the coronavirus pandemic, and we recognise that you might be concerned about the number and type of opportunities available for your child. What the government has done is announced a plan to support sort of young people and their careers post-COVID-19, which includes additional funding for employers to help increase the availability of apprenticeships across the country. So lots of work is going on to make sure that there are still lots of opportunities available to all our young people. So what are apprenticeships? So lots of people get confused about apprenticeships, and that's probably because they've been around for a very long time, but they have changed a lot in that time. So one of the main things is apprentices always earn a wage, and they can be some really good salaries. I've got some examples to show you later on of some current vacancies to give you some examples of the salaries that they can have. They have to work for a minimum of 30 hours a week, and this will include the time that they have to complete their studies as well. So the employer will invest their time and money in helping the apprentice to gain some qualifications and obviously new skills and experience. So they'll be given real responsibilities and expected to work just as hard as anyone else in the company. They will be supported by a training provider. So the training provider is responsible for the qualification and obviously all the support that they need to help them to complete the qualification to help them get their apprenticeship. So they will work with the employer as well to make sure that everything is ready for the apprentice to be able to complete all their assessments to gain their qualification. So they will have a contract of employment. They're a full-time employee like any other member of the company. So they'll get all the same sort of benefits, including holiday pay, same as any other member of staff. So it's important to remember that an apprenticeship is a real job with a real employer. Apprentices spend time working alongside other people in a company with experience, and they'll gain from that experience. So you know, it is a real job that they would have to be doing, and they can take quite a long time. So the minimum for an apprenticeship is 1 year, but if you're looking at going into something at a higher level or a degree level, then it could take up to 6 years to get your qualification. There are lots of myths about apprenticeships because they have changed so much in the past few years. I mean, the first thing to remember is that as an apprentice you get paid a salary. Many people think that apprentices are low paid, and this can be true depending on the employer. Legally, an employer must pay an apprentice the national minimum wage for apprentices, which is currently £4.15 an hour. This is lower than the normal national minimum wage, but it recognises that some people will be going into their first job with no experience at all. There is good news that lots of employers pay a lot more than the national minimum wage for apprentices, and some apprenticeship schemes in big organisations can have starting salaries of in the high teens really, and some London-based employers will pay even more than this. I've got some examples to show you later on of some of the current vacancies to illustrate the current salaries that are on offer for young people. It's important to remember that if your child comes across an apprenticeship that they're interested in, not to be put off by the pay if it's initially low. There's room for progression and working your way to the top of an organisation, and lots of employers will increase this as they achieve milestones during their apprenticeship. Another common myth is that once you've completed your apprenticeship, your employer will let you go. This isn't true. The majority of apprentices, around 90%, stay in employment. They might change company, but it's usually that they're able to compete for a better job if they do, perhaps with more pay and more responsibility. Lots of young people are worried that if they go into an apprenticeship, they won't get to have fun or meet other young people. That isn't true. Depending on the size of the company, they may find themselves working with lots of other young people. Apprentices can also join networks such as the Young Apprentice Ambassadors Programme, and have opportunities to meet other apprentices around the country or in their local area. Another myth is that apprenticeships are only for people that don't go on to full-time university, and that's not true either. So there are different levels of apprenticeship suited to everyone, and you can go all the way up to degree level. So if you're at uni, you'll be there part-time, but we'll talk about higher and degree apprenticeships a bit later on. Some people think that apprenticeships are the easy route, but this is not the case. Apprenticeships are balancing a full-time job and studying, which can be, as you said, up to degree level at the same time. So they're learning and adapting to a new working environment, contributing to real-life work projects and tasks, which comes with responsibility, whilst ultimately working towards their endpoint and achieving their apprenticeship. So one of the best things about apprenticeships is they are available in lots of locations. So if your child does want to carry on living at home, they can, but they can sometimes move around the country with an apprenticeship. It's really important that they do their research, but some companies will help you to relocate, and that'll be part of your package in recruitment. So we have now 4 apprenticeship levels: intermediate, advanced, higher, and degree apprenticeship. So you could start at an intermediate level in some areas and work all the way up to getting a degree. So higher apprenticeships cover levels 4 to 7. Level 4, 5, 6 and 7 are equivalent to a foundation degree and above. So level 6 is a degree level and level 7 is a master's qualification. So which level of apprenticeship you start at will depend on the kind of job that you're applying for. It's really important not to be held back by only looking for a particular level, for example, a degree apprenticeship, because it may be that you need to start at a slightly lower level and work your way up, or it may be that your apprenticeship actually isn't available as a degree just yet. So doing a job is completely different to getting A-levels, which is why it can be a bit confusing. So the duration of your apprenticeship will depend on a number of factors, including the delivery model that the employer has selected for you, and which apprenticeship level you are studying. As a minimum, they last for 1 year, but higher and degree apprenticeships are more likely to last for a lot longer. So 3 years probably, but some up to 6 years going forward. So, higher and degree apprenticeships can be a real alternative to following the traditional route of going to university as a full-time student. They offer the benefits of higher education without the cost. You will not only be learning, but earning a salary from day one. And with a degree apprenticeship, you're much less likely to build up debt. I guess that includes your living cost debt that you might accrue as a full-time student. So the tuition fees are paid for by your employer and the government. So you're not expected to pay those yourself. There are more than 100 universities in England now that offer degree apprenticeships. And the students on those degree apprenticeships are entitled to exactly the same as other students. So you have access to your student union, sports facilities, clubs, societies, and those all-important student discounts. In the past, going to university was seen as the best way to advance your career to a higher level, but with the current level of competition for jobs amongst graduates, it might not be the best route for you. So with an apprenticeship, you can gain the competitive advantage of gaining at least 3 years work experience whilst completing your degree. But as we mentioned before, it is hard work. As a degree apprentice, you'll be working full-time and fitting in the equivalent of a full-time degree alongside it, and it might take a bit longer to get your degree than obviously studying full-time, but you should achieve the same degree at the end. It's really important to do the research to find out which roles and which routes are available to you through the degree apprenticeship route, because there may be a really good alternative to doing the full-time route at at university. And remember, a lot of students will apply for the university route as well, as looking at degree apprenticeships. It can take quite a long time for the application process for a degree apprenticeship to come to fruition. So a lot of students might not find out that they have an apprenticeship offer until quite late in the year. So they do like to have the opportunity of maybe having some university offers as well, to keep all their options open moving forward. So to give you some examples of the kinds of degree apprenticeships that are available currently, there are about 200 different higher and degree apprenticeships available, covering a huge range of job roles, and some of them are listed on this slide. Some of them are quite new. Trying to become an architect now, you can do the part 1 of the architect route for training as part of a degree apprenticeship now, and then the part 2 and 3 would be a level 7, which is the master's part of an apprenticeship. So you can be a town planner, cybersecurity professional, an ecologist, a laboratory scientist, or even a police constable. So that's quite a common route now for a lot of police forces to recruit through the degree apprenticeship route into the police force. If you want to see a full latest list of apprenticeships, I would recommend that you visit the Institute for Apprenticeships and Technical Education website. They have lists of all those that exist and all those that are in development for the future. And here on this slide are some of the degree apprenticeships that are coming soon. So they should be available to you in the very near future. Equally, the range of employers offering apprenticeships is incredible. This slide shows you some of the really familiar logos of big companies in England who all recruit apprentices. Some of these may not be recruiting currently, but you will be able to track the recruitment updates on their websites or social media. Around 50% of apprenticeships are started with large companies like this, but there are 50% with a range of smaller companies as well. It can be tempting to think that the best apprenticeships are just with the big well-known companies, but many of the smaller employers have absolutely brilliant schemes that enable fast-track career progression for their apprentices. So it's really important to do the research and not to ignore the smaller companies because they can be just as good for you as well. You'll also need to think about different roles that a company might have. For example, if your young person wants to work in finance, not just to look at the big sort of finance and accountancy companies, but to look at the wide range of other organisations as well, because they'll have lots of different departments and a range of disciplines that sort of you can have a look at. So, for example, one of the vacancies I've got on the slide later on is GlaxoSmithKline. They offer obviously quite a few things on the scientific side and the health science side, but they also offer things like sort of IT and sort of data analytics as well. So not just on the science side. So there are many different ways that an apprenticeship can be delivered. As a general rule, your time will be spent 80% working and 20% paid time for off-the-job learning, and this can take place in a wide variety of ways. It might be in your workplace with more experienced colleagues who are sharing their time and experience. There's a lot of online learning, and this will, I think, increase due to the COVID pandemic, but it is also a feature anyway of apprenticeships. Your assessor may be working with a training provider who's not in the local area, so a lot of updates and sort of meetings might be via virtual methods as well. You might have some classroom learning, or you might go off-site to attend a college or a training provider or a university if you're doing the degree route. So, what is life like as an apprentice? Do apprentices miss out on having a social life? Of course, a lot of us are missing out on that at the moment, but typically it's true to say that apprentices will not have the same exact social life as a university student because they're young professionals and they need to be in work every day. They do have great social lives at the weekend and in their spare time, and the bonus is that they're earning money, so they can afford to make the most of that time as well. So there is still a social side, but just in a different way. Apprentices can move away from home, as we mentioned before, so some apprentices do actually relocate. Sometimes the employer might help with this by putting them in touch with other apprentices to help them to share accommodation, for example, or you might organise that yourself. And once they're settled in work, apprentices might decide that they want to share a house with other young people that they're working with as well. And as we mentioned, apprenticeships are not the easy route. There is a lot of competition to get onto apprenticeships. There are not as many of them around. Lots of young people are attracted to the idea of gaining a degree with no debt and getting lots of experience. So, plus you've got that added the added part of working whilst you're learning as well. So trying to fit everything in to your lifestyle can be a challenge for a lot of people. So it's really important to do the research and put as much effort into your applications for apprenticeships as you would for UCAS. A lot of students will actually apply for the UCAS route as well, just to make sure that they have all the options covered. If you want to find out more about apprenticeships, the Amazing Apprenticeships website is a very good one to refer you to. There's lots of information here about apprenticeships and information, and there's also the opportunity for parents to log into a sort of a monthly parent newsletter that you can access as well. Using the Amazing Apprenticeships website, you can go into the apprenticeships site, and this is where you can access information about employers, the kinds of apprenticeships that might be coming up over the next few months, over the year, and also the application side as well. It's really important to register with the Find an Apprenticeship service. You can search the internet for Find an Apprenticeship and it will come up as the first link. The page is on the gov.uk, the official government website as well. So once your child registers, they will receive an account activation code by email. After activating their account, they'll be ready to start applying for apprenticeship vacancies. So you can have a look at the different jobs that are being advertised. It's a live site, so they might need to try a few different searches to broaden what they're looking for. You can search on the kind of opportunity that you're looking for, so for example engineering or IT, and you can also look by location as well, and also level. So if you just want to look at the degree level apprenticeships in your area, then you can put that search facility in. It's important to notice that the expected number of vacancies will have reduced over the pandemic period, whilst employers are reviewing how best they can support their existing staff and when it would be safe to begin recruitment again. But there are some opportunities on there at the moment. So it's really important to keep on looking on the site on an ongoing basis as things will change over time. Using the site, you can then search for vacancies and make the applications for the jobs that are of interest to them. They need to remember that some of the bigger companies will advertise quite early in the year, e.g. in the autumn, for apprentices to start in the following September. So they shouldn't leave it to the last minute, or they might be disappointed or have missed out on an opportunity that they might have wanted to take up in the future. Recruitment timeframes have changed this year, so it's important to stay on top of these. So you can set up alerts as part of the system. This will do all the hard work for you, so it will send you an alert onto your phone or by email, by text, for jobs that you might be interested in applying to. Employers are always willing to tell us which applicants really stand out to them. So it's those that have made a bit of extra effort, so maybe contacting the company, asking them about any virtual open days that are coming up or any other opportunities that there might be to engage with them, and that might be something that they can write about on their application. So the Amazing Apprenticeship website in the apprenticeship section has two important links on it really. The first one is the vacancy snapshot, which is where you can get an idea about the different companies that do recruit apprentices. So each one of these icons is a window into information about the schemes that organisation will offer. And there's also in the time to apply section a sort of an overview of when their application windows are likely to be over the coming year. And the Find an Apprenticeship link is the access directly into the search facility for the apprenticeship website. So yeah, so there's just an indication of what you will find when you get onto the government site. So the fact that you can search by your keyword, by your location, and by the different level. You can also use the site on UCAS. They've got a dedicated apprenticeship page on their website, and you can apply to degree apprenticeships through them as well. And I mean, a great benefit is obviously you can apply to university as well as applying for the apprenticeship route as well. So it doesn't take away from your 5 options that you've got as part of the university process. You can apply for as many degree apprenticeships as you like as well. So it may take quite a long time for those applications to make their progress. So by the summer, you should have a good indication of what sort of opportunities are available to you, and to make you able to make your. On the Find an Apprenticeship site, it's quite easy to search if you want to just have a look and see what's there. But as you said, it's important to actually set up an account so that you can sign in and receive alerts, and that's quite easy to do by following the instructions on the screen. So whilst the apprenticeship vacancy site is a good place to start to look for apprenticeships, it's not the only place. If you have a particular employer in mind, then visit their website, see if you can sign up for recruitment alerts or if they send out a newsletter. Make sure you follow their pages on social media using Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, as they will probably use this to promote their vacancies and sort of alert you as to when they're going live. It's really important to stay on top of alerts and updates about recruitment, as the impact of the coronavirus pandemic is ongoing, and employers will be sort of using these platforms to update their potential applicants. And additionally, we've spoken to lots of apprentices, and quite often they say they actually heard about their job through a friend or family. So it's important to make sure that all your friends and family are aware that your young person is looking for an apprenticeship, as you never know what might come through for them. There are lots of other job search sites out there as well, including the vacancy snapshot on the Amazing Apprenticeship site, and it's really important to maybe have a look at sort of local options as well, so things like the local council, as they often take on apprentices, and also the government vacancy website as well, the sort of job search, because every government department sort of usually has vacancies and apprenticeship opportunities every year. I also looked at the site to get some examples of some local vacancies, so you can see some examples of local companies, or within the sort of a 30-mile radius of Beaconsfield. So you can see these are all degree level apprenticeships, or the apprentice accountant one goes up to level 7, so kind of some master's level for the accountancy one. Closing dates can vary. As you can see, there's a wide variety of things there. It's important that that you don't leave it to the last minute. If we talk to employers, they say that if they get a huge number of applications, then they might close their applications early. So don't leave it until the last minute to apply. And a range of salaries, so you can see that we've got things in the high teens, but some are in the low 20s as well. So they can be a very good option, as opposed to doing the full-time degree route at university. So we're often asked, is there a way to find out if something is a good apprenticeship? And the best answer is really that every single one has to be assessed, I guess, on its own merits, really. And it will be personal to the young person and obviously to the employer. But there are a few indications, maybe what are they being paid? It's not always to say that the highest sort of salary will be the best apprenticeship, but it's a fair wage. So if an apprenticeship sort of looks like it's got a good salary in relation to other apprenticeships that are on the site, that might be a good indication. But employers will all have to pay the absolute sort of minimum wage for apprentices, and the majority will pay a lot higher than that as well. Might be good to ask about the progression opportunities. So if an employer openly discusses progression, then that's a good sign that they want to keep the apprentice on after they've done their apprenticeship. And as we mentioned before, I think there are some companies, GlaxoSmithKline is also on their information on the amazing apprenticeships. I'm very proud to say that quite a lot of their previous apprentices have moved into senior positions in the organisation. So a lot of employers are very proud of their progression opportunities that they that they can offer to young people. Is it a permanent or a fixed term position? So these can become some of the options that you might have. If they're offering fixed term apprenticeships, it may be good to sort of research and see whether there is an opportunity for people to apply for permanent roles within the company when they've completed their apprenticeship. You can also check out the training providers as well. So if it's a university, you might want to look at the university and the degree and the support that they might be able to offer your young person in terms of the apprenticeship and how they're going to go forward. And you might want to look at how varied the role is. So usually on the vacancy website, there's a very good job description of the kind of things that the young person will be doing as part of the apprenticeship. Some employers allow apprenticeships in the degree apprenticeship route to try out lots of different departments within a company, and that can be a really good way of getting experience as you move forward. So finally, we know that it's a challenging time for young people thinking about their future options, and we hope that this information today has given you a bit of an insight into the range of apprenticeships that could be available and the opportunities that might be there. So hopefully this is a good starting point so that you'll be able to do some more research into apprenticeships and the companies that are available. So there is a national helpline that you can call for information, or you can look at all the links on the website that we've sort of given you today. And if you've got any after today, if you want to put them through school, then I'm sure that they'll pass those on to me so that I can respond to you in a timely manner. Thank you for listening.